Tina Traster of the Rockland County Business Journal program every week is sponsored by the Ugel Law Firm, and we'll talk to Tina after this.
Hello, I'm Scott Ugel of the Ugel Law Firm. I don't have to tell you how our world has dramatically changed. Today, many people are suffering financially and often do not know where to turn for help as they have many questions. I have been practicing consumer law for over 35 years and have handled thousands of cases where we help people save their home through loan modifications and/or forbearance agreements by going to state Supreme Court, bankruptcy court, or without having to go to court at all. Please give me a call, as every situation is different, and let me tell you how I might be able to help you or someone you love. I'm Scott Ugel of the Ugel Law Firm.
And they do sponsor the Rockland County Business Journal program with Tina Traster. And good morning, Tina.
Good morning, Steve. How is everybody this
We're doing all right, thank you. It's finally warming up in here. It was a little chilly when we got here, but we're on the precipice of just a beautiful week.
We are. I think everybody is excited to shed some layers. I know I am. So we are going to talk about the what I think was probably the big story of the week, which is that the village of South Nyack has filed a lawsuit against the Yeshiva that purchased the Nyack College over code violations and use of the property. They filed against the Yeshiva Vishnitz, which, as you recall, bought the Nyack College campus for $45.5 million last year, alleging that the yeshiva is using the property without proper permitting, that they have failed to conduct safety inspections, and that they have not resolved open code violations. Now, this is in the context of a village that is currently in the process of going through a dissolution and will be incorporated into the town of Orangetown. So that's interesting. The suit was filed, which was filed in Rockland Supreme Court, is basically aimed at compelling these new owners to comply with the village, county, and codes and New York State law. The interesting thing about this is the campus, as many know, is over 100 acres and is a sprawling, former college campus. It's not one permit for all of its buildings. So the suit breaks down into the different sections of the campus and what kind of permitting the new occupant needs for its different buildings. So what I'm saying is it's not just one big campus. It's several buildings that are permitted differently. For example, the multi-count complaint alleges that the yeshiva has not registered with the New York State Education Department as a secondary, post-secondary, or education program, which is required by the law. It says that because they have not registered, the state has not conducted the necessary annual fire safety inspections that would be required to protect students and the staff. The suit also maintains that while the village has no objection to the intended use of the property, that the congregation has refused to provide information to the village concerning how the buildings are being used and how open safety violations are going to be addressed. They also allege in the suit that new C of Os, or certificates of occupancy, are required when this ownership changed. And the suit says that after the sale, the congregation indicated that they will not be pursuing any special use permits or new C of Os for the parcels. And so, as I said before, the village is asking the court to determine the safe, legal, and appropriate use of the 40-plus parcels that make up the campus. So the college, being made up of many buildings, and it is not zoned as just one campus. So, for example, this is also a very interesting part of the lawsuit. Nyack College stopped operating in September 2019, and the congregation completed the sale in December 2020. And under the village code, any prior non-conforming use had expired prior to the closing, because a non-conforming use is only good for 1 year after it's discontinued. So a prior non-conforming use, like a college campus, is a use that predates the zoning code, but the yeshiva doesn't get to just step in and say, okay, this is a continuing use. And so the village is also asking the court to confirm that the non-conforming use has indeed expired. Also, the suit, it's a very long and complicated suit. The suit looks at, it says that under New York State dormitory law, dormitories must be tied to educational programs and are subject to the New York multiple dwelling law, and that safety requirements under the law include occupancy levels, fire safety, lighting, heating, and other issues. And they're saying that the congregation has failed to comply with these state regulations for each and every property housing students, which includes dormitories at least 4 locations. What else? I mean, the suit is long and complicated, but I think,
What happens in the interim now until it's adjudicated, and how are they going to have business as usual, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, are you talking about the yeshiva?
Yeah.
Well, I guess based on history, I guess here in the county, and if the words of the lawsuit are to be believed, meaning that the yeshiva has basically said that they're not going to seek new permits, I suppose that they will plan to operate as intended, and that this will have to be litigated in court. I guess according to the suit, they were not planning on, acknowledging these issues, and so the village has filed a very, I would say, aggressive lawsuit. And it's going to be interesting to see, how this plays out.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't been there they haven't been there just a few months. And, it's not a good, I think it's not a good way for a new neighbor to get started if these allegations prove to be correct. And
but meanwhile, what I'm trying to get at is the dormitories will be active, and there'll be people living in them. Much the same as it was with Nyack College owned it. Am I right?
Yeah, this is what they have bought the property. They intend to have a yeshiva. There will be people living on the campus, and it's going to be for the Rockland County Supreme Court to decide whether these issues have to be dealt with. I mean, they aren't. The Village of South Nyack specifically says in the lawsuit that they're not challenging how they're using their intended purpose per se. Okay, so it's not a challenge to what their intention is, but they are trying to hold their feet to the fire in terms of zoning codes, permitting, and safety. And so this is what we're going to be watching. See how this plays out.
All right, before we let you go, I don't know if you have articles about this in this week's particular edition. What's with the fact that businesses are slowly but surely getting back toward, like, for example, restaurants as of a week from Friday can have 75% of capacity. What's the general tenor of the attitude of businesses in the county right now?
But I'll tell you, we put up a really nice story today or yesterday about I'm telling this as an emblem, an example of the businesses that are thriving. a homemade ice cream shop had opened up in Piermont Creamery. And we have a story today about how they're opening a second location next month in Nyack. And so I mention that one because it's a really nice story and it's really interesting the way that owner made it through the pandemic and in fact thrived through the pandemic. What I sense is that there is a lot of real estate activity, that restaurants that have the right format have the confidence to open, to be looking for space, that real estate brokers seem to be busy. But then you have, in contrast to, for example, the story that we just published, where it's like the Palisades Mall. They're challenged. We just put up a story about Disney planning to shutter at least 60 locations nationwide, and very likely one of those casualties will be the Disney store at the Palisades Center.
Oh.
Yeah, which has been temporarily closed, but according to a source, it's unlikely to reopen again. And I think it's a contrast between formats that are well oiled for this new economy that we're going to be looking at, as opposed to other things that a lot. Retail is still the category that is going to go through the greatest reset. But as we've said over and over again, this started before the pandemic. It's come to a head. So I think that restaurants with large formats and fancy dining, and I think that retail that could otherwise be easily had online are probably the two most vulnerable of categories. But money is cheap, and I can tell you that it seems that there is a buzz in real estate, and that there is a lot of leasing going on, and a lot of activity that we're hearing about and reporting on. So I don't think that we are going to be plunging into any sort of a deep recession or a recession at all. I think we're probably on the up and up, but I think that there are going to be a lot of casualties along the way. There already have been, and there's also going to be a lot of opportunity for more flexible. If you can get in and do a format that still takes into consideration social distancing, you're going to be well poised.
What's the prognosis for the shops at Nyack? I know you talk about the Palisades Center a lot. What about the shops?
Well, I think they have the same. They sort of have the same problem, which is that they have to slough off a lot of kind of useless retail. But I think, and I don't, Simon is very close-lipped. I get more intel from the Palisades Center, but with Simon, they have, I would say, a greater ability to conform, to become something new. They've got the outdoor. It's an outdoor mall that's desirable. They're coming into the warmer weather, and they have buildings that can be repurposed in creative ways that make sense for this new economy. But it is hard to say. I mean, it is very hard to say what their plans are, and certainly they've lost, they've lost many retail tenants. So we'll have to see. We're going to watch it all, as we always do.
All right, and you can watch it along with everybody else online. It's the Rockland County RCBiz, B-I-Z journal.com. That's RCBizjournal.com. The stories are updated every day, right? And sometimes. That's
right, and also people should sign up for our free daily newsletter. Just go on the site, RCBizjournal.com, and all you have to do is put your email address in there, and you'll be receiving a free update every single day of 1 to 2 news stories.
All right, Tina, thanks a lot.
Talk to you next week.